Matt Hendricks said he liked the energy the guys had at the start. As it went on, it got more and more frustrated.
I think the intentions were good, at the beginning. And then when you don't score in the power play, when you have the opportunity, you could see at the end of the first period that we started to try to do things as individuals instead of collectively. And when that happens, it's tough. So, but it's no excuse.
When things like that happen, then you tend to get goals scored against you with 1 second left in the period. How did you think?
Well, it was a huge goal. It gave them life because after the first period, we were talking about how often this happens. When you're outshoot a team 18-6, you have 5 power plays to none or 4.5, whatever. And then, the other team comes out, they're going to get power plays in the second period, and it usually turns. And I thought we did a really good job of holding them off on the 5-on-3 and the penalty. But, you've got Nicky down there, you got 4 guys down there, and nobody touching anybody, and they're going to score. And so once they believed that, after the third, at the start of the third period, they dug in their heels pretty good, and they hadn't beaten us in a while, so they were a determined group, and we were, looking like we were feeling sorry for ourselves.
When did you start to notice people doing things sort of on their own?
The last 2 power plays, we got it. Alex got it, and instead of doing what he's supposed to be doing, the intentions are good. He's thinking he's got to do it himself, and he's carrying it himself rather than using his teammates. Then the next shift, Semin comes out and he does the same thing, and we're getting checked at the blue line instead of coming up with the structure that we've been so successful with. We're all over cheating, and then the results are what the results are.
At one point, Ovi was down low on the power play, and Carlson agreed worth the points. Is that something that you'll go back to in the future?
I don't know. We were 0 for 6, and it was our 7th power play, and we weren't getting much. It was that, or I was going to put a couple guys, and we did the previous power play. Just stand in front of the net and shoot the puck was the message. And then we still get around and want to dink around with it, and get too cute. And when you get too cute, there were so many times we had good opportunities to shoot with guys in front of the net. We're trying to make the play, and the play's not there.
Same thing with the line changes. You kind of switch things up.
Well, after the second period, everybody, my thoughts were our top 6 forwards weren't very good. Okay, but our bottom 6 forwards were working their hardest and getting opportunities. So I wanted to put at least one of those guys on with the other guys, and maybe it would rub off and the energy would rub off. But quite frankly, if your best players aren't your best players, and we've been shut out 3 times in the last 11 games, which has never happened, you're not going to have success. And we've had 1 goal or less 5 out of the last 11 games. You have to get production out of your best players, and it's not happening right now. I think if you just look down, Alex has 2 goals in 11 games, and Semin hasn't scored in 7 or 8 games. Mike Green hasn't gotten a goal in I don't know how many games. Same thing with Nick Backstrom. He scored in the St. Louis game, which was 5 games ago, but that was it. So, if your best players, and then you can go further down with Brooks Lake and Mike Knuble, those are our best players. Those are our offensive guys. And if they're not going to score, and our power play is not going to work. It's going to be you better win the game 1-0. But they're not playing good enough right now to score goals.
What can you attribute that to? Some of it, or some of them snake bitten, or some of them just not looking comfortable? Or?
Well, we could call it snake bitten. We could call it you're facing adversity and not being able to handle the adversity, not fighting through it, feeling sorry for yourself. I came in between periods, second and third, and everybody was hanging their head. We were down 1-0, and my job at that time is to let them know that, not give them crap, but let them know that they're good, and don't feel sorry for yourselves. Don't put your head down. Dig your heels in and come back, and it's 1 shot. And we take a couple penalties and takes us out of the period. And once it was 2-0, you could see the shoulders sagging and everything on the bench, and They just didn't believe they were going to be able to come back tonight.
Were you surprised to see that in the break, just because one goal for this team usually isn't insurmountable?
No, it isn't, but on the top of what's happened in the last week, or even the last 2 weeks, they're not used to. I mean, this is a team that is just not accustomed to this. So, I mean, now they got to get accustomed to it, because we're in a dog race in the division and in the conference. It's not going to be a cakewalk, and every team that plays us is ready for us, and so and every team knows that they've got to check this guy and they check that guy, and we have to as individuals change a little bit of the way we play. And that's why I was putting Alex from left wing to right wing, because they had Weaver out there every time against them, and we've got to find a way to get around that.
What do you do as a coach? How do you kind of approach the situation now with your team? You said after the second period you wanted to kind of pump them up. Now what do you do?
Well, I mean, I gave them crap after the Leaf game. So, I mean, you can't just keep going and beating a dead horse. Tomorrow, I think obviously we'll practice the power play, penalty killing. But, I mean, other than that, we'll start having our individual meetings, and maybe there's something there that I'm missing right now, but we'll get to the bottom of it and we'll get out of it. And it's when we get out of it, hopefully we'll have learned by it.
How do you feel like Hannah and Green fit together at the moment?
Excuse me?
How do you feel like Green fit together as a partner on defense?
Green and Hannon? Well, it wasn't anything with Scott. Mike Green didn't play very well. So, I mean, as they played as a partnership, I mean, it's hard to tell when Mike's not, playing up to his standards.